Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to be looking at how you factorise quadratics. We're going to start off by looking at some simple examples such as the one you see on your screen now, and then we'll move on to some more challenging problems. Now when you get a problem like this, the one you see, all we need to do is simply to look at the number at the end of the quadratic. So in our case this is an 8 here. And then I will start off by listing the factors of 8. As you get more confident, you might not need to list them out, but at the beginning, I would recommend to do that. It makes it easy for you to spot which pair you need. So we have two different ways that we can make 8. We can do 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. Now I look at these two, and I'm looking for the one that will add to give this number here, the number that is before the x term. And in our case, I can see that the 2 and the 4 is going to do that. And so this is the pair that I'm going to select. And then we can go ahead and factorise. So I do myself a pair of brackets like so, and then I want x plus 2, choosing this number here, and x plus 4 in the second bracket, choosing that number there. Okay, on the screen you have another question here. I'm going to let you try this one yourselves, so if you'd like to pause the video now, grab yourself a pen and paper and see if you can have a go. Okay, so if you did try that, then you should have something that looks like this. So you should have got 2 and 3 as being the numbers that will multiply to 6 and add to 5. Well done if you managed to get it. If not, don't worry, just pause the video and see if you can have a read through and work out where you went wrong. Okay, this question is slightly harder. We start it in exactly the same way as before. So I'm looking at the number at the end, and I'm going to look for factors of 14. 14 can be made two different ways. It's either going to be 1 times 14 or it's going to be 2 times 7. Now in this case, I'm actually not trying to make 14. I'm trying to make negative 14. So what that means is that one of my numbers is going to have to be negative and the other one will be positive. I don't know which way round it will be yet, but the key thing is that we want to look at the difference of these numbers. So before we were looking at the sum, which would have been 15 or 9. This time I'm looking at the difference. And again, I'm going to look for a difference of this number here, which in our case is 5. And so I can see that that is going to be the 2 and the 7 pair. And then the last step is deciding which one will be negative, which one will be positive. And because I want to make plus 5, I'm going to make the 7 positive and the 2 negative, because 7 minus 2 will give me that 5 that I need. Now I can go ahead and do my brackets. So I'm going to have x minus 2 in one and x plus 7 in the other, just selecting those two numbers there in the green circle. Again, here's one for you to try. So if you'd like to, pause the video and I'll put the answer up in just a second. Okay, if you tried, you should have done something like this. So you're looking for factors of 10 in this case, and then we look for ones that have a difference of 3. In that case, that's the 2 and the 5. And then you need to this time make the 5 negative and the 2 positive, because we're trying to make negative 3. Okay, moving on to our next example. So in this case, they get slightly more challenging. And the reason for that is this number here before the x squared. When you have a number there before the x squared, the problem becomes more complicated. This time, instead of looking for factors of negative 3, I'm actually going to look for factors of negative 6. What you need to do is you need to take this number at the end and this number at the front, the a and the c value, and you multiply those together. So 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. This is what I look for factors of. So again, ignoring that negative sign for just a moment, this is going to be 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. And then as before, we look for pairs of numbers that add to give negative 5. So I need one thing positive and one thing to be negative. So I'm looking for a difference of 5. And so that's going to be the first pair. This has a difference of 5. Which one needs to be negative? Well, to make this negative, that needs to be the 6. Now, this is where the problem gets a little bit harder. Once you've identified those solutions, we are not yet ready to put it into brackets. What I'm going to have to do is take this 5x and split it up into two different parts. And I'm going to split the negative 5x into two parts and how I choose that is inside this circle here. So minus 5x is going to be written as plus 1x and minus 6x. And you can see if I collected together these two things, they simplify to negative 5. I've just like expanded that into two separate parts. But of course, the 2x squared is still there and the minus 3 is still there. Now, once you've done it like this, you're going to factorize this. And I'm just going to use simple factorization. I'm going to factorize the thing on the left there, and I'm also going to factorize the two terms on the right separately. So if I factorize this, we can take an x out, and I'm left with 2x plus 1. And then if I factorize the bit underlined in blue, I can divide both of these by negative 3. And then I'm left with 2x plus 1. Now, these two things here need to be the same. This 2x plus 1 part must be the same. And then that will become one of your brackets, the bit that is common to both, so 2x plus 1. And then the other bracket is made by the x and the negative 3. And that is these parts here that I see at the front, x minus 3. If that confuses you as to why, I wouldn't worry too much. I am going to talk about it a bit in a second, but just see if you can follow through that method using this problem here that you can see on the right-hand side. So again, pause the video and have a go at that problem. Okay, so you should have had a solution that looks like this. You're going to times together the 2 and the 6 to make 12. You find that you are making 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now this is a positive 12, so again you're looking for the sum. You're looking for two numbers that add to make 7. And in this case, it's 3 and 4 that add to make 7. But you must be careful because actually we want them to add to negative 7. And so to make them both add to negative 7, you must choose this to be negative 3 times negative 4. Those two numbers add to negative 7 and multiply to give 12. And then follow the same method. You split the negative 7 up, you factorize, you should have brackets that look like this. Now, as promised, I'm going to explain to you this step here, because sometimes students don't understand why we are doing that. Why is it the case that one of the brackets will be this thing here, and then the other bracket is going to be these two parts here? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite out this equation like this. I'm going to write it as x times y minus 2 times y. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I'm going to call this thing here y in both cases. Now, can you see, if I would do it like this, then I can factorize y out of both of these two terms. If I factorize y out, just simple factorization, we have y x minus 2, because it is common to both. But remember, I just said that this y here is 2x minus 3. So we end up with 2x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 2. Now that bit at the end isn't necessary to understand. It's just because I know some people like to know exactly why we are doing what we are doing. So that part in green, if you understand and it helps you to understand why we are doing it, then great. If you don't, then it's fine. Just following the method, following those step-by-step instructions to get to the factorization at the bottom is plenty for your exam. Okay, if you would like a challenge, I have a challenge here for you. So here I have asked you to fully factorize this, and this is actually a cubic, not a quadratic. So you can see at the end I have this 3x to the 3, which makes it a cubic. And I'll give you a little hint here. The hint is that you must factorize x out of every term first. So if you fancy a challenge, then feel free to have a go at that and tell me what you get in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I also have a video on solving quadratics, and I will link that in the description. So if you want to go ahead and be able to solve when they're equal to 0, then feel free to check that out as well.